All too often, factory bobbers are pretty uninspiring. Manufacturers just take Model X, swap a fender or two, put a solo seat and maybe a straight handlebar on it, black out some components, and call it a bobber. Not so with Triumph's head-turning Bonneville bobber. The bobber was built around the Bonneville T120's 1200cc high-torque engine, but apart from that, it shares very little with its Bonnie brethren. This is an entirely new motorcycle. Its frame, front and rear suspension, handlebar, instrument display, and fuel tank are all new. And thanks to a new two-piece airbox design, output shaft, intake, exhaust, and special tuning, its parallel twin pumps out a claimed 10% more mid-range power and torque than the T120. It talks the talk and walks the walk. The bobber's clean design invokes simpler times. Almost every wire, cable, hose, and piece of technology is cleverly hidden from view, and there's a lot of open space around the engine and under the rider. Minimalist, at least in looks, is the name of the game. Fortunately, minimalist doesn't extend to the bobber's comfort level. The small solo tractor seat is skillfully dished, and despite looking perilously thin, it has ample padding. It's also adjustable, requiring the removal of one bolt and the loosening of another, allowing the rider to slide it along the arm, rearward and down, up to a max of about 2 inches. To maintain the all-important aesthetic, Triumph designed the bobber's frame to look like a hardtail, and tucked the single rear shock and linkage under the seat. Despite its vintage look, the bobber handles surprisingly well. Even at a hard pace, dragging the foot pegs through corner after corner, the bike feels planted and stable. The rear monoshock soaks up small bumps, transmitting nothing to the seat floating above it. Out on the open road, tall gearing, plenty of power, a claimed 77 horsepower at 6,100 RPM, and 78.2 foot-pounds of torque at 4,000 RPM, and an open exhaust note make the bobber really, really fun to ride. It pulls hard in every gear up until about 5,500 RPM, and while it's no sport bike, with a skilled rider aboard it will hold its own in the canyons. Like the T120, the bobber uses ride-by-wire, which allows for switchable traction control and 2 ride modes, rain and road. Both modes allow full power, but the rain mode uses a more relaxed throttle map that brings on the power more gently for wet or slippery conditions. ABS is also standard. The bobber has 2 main weaknesses, its brakes and its small gas tank. Triumph opted to give the bobber a single 310mm disc and 2-piston Nissin floating caliper up front, and a 255mm disc with single-piston caliper out back, to better match the traditional bobber look. Riders unacquainted with the rear brake pedal will want to retrain themselves, as the bike basically ignores even a forceful squeeze of the front brake lever alone. And the 2.4-gallon gas tank could be a deal breaker for those looking for a range of more than 100 miles. My overwhelming impression of the new bobber, however, is very positive. It looks unlike any other mass-produced bike out there, and it backs that incredible style and attention to detail with honest-to-goodness power and handling. If you're looking for an around-town ride with style, attitude, and performance to match, this might just be your dream bike.